So let's talk about some of the new drugs and some of the presentations at us to start. So what's happening now? We have luspa, imetelstat. We didn't talk about the IDH1 inhibitor, but may not be 100% related to what we do. But I think another very important thing. So any other exciting drugs that are presented at the meeting or that are in development that you want to discuss?
I think there's a lot of interest, and this excites me to continue to find ways to ameliorate the anemia, either in frontline or later lines. And there's an increasing emphasis on the inflammasome and the sort of just inflammatory milieu that exists in MDS. And so we have compounds that inhibit NLRP, and then luspatercept, which is probably not right to call it a second generation luspatercept, but it's something that may have more activity in a similar mechanism of action. So the NLRP inhibitor, inflammasome inhibitor, is oral, which is also quite appealing, and then luspatercept, similar to luspatercept. So we're going to have options. There may be other things I've missed that you guys mentioned.
I think concern is not the proper word, but I'm thinking a little bit about this because now we have drugs that give you 70% response up front, second line drugs. And we are like clinical trialists, the four of us. I said, like, how do you develop a drug in this context now? And then, you're talking about the NLRP3 inhibitor. Of course, we're testing this in like fifth line, low risk MDS. That actually is probably a very bad disease to have. And the chances that there is activity in that particular context are probably minimal. And this happened with canakinumab that Uma has worked. So how do we do this, actually? I think we should go to some type of combination, but I'm actually struggling to think how do we now design the next generation of clinical trials? Because companies like really fast results, right? And it's very tough if we don't know natural history of luspa failure, ESA failure. And then how do we do this? I don't know.
I think that's a huge issue because you could be killing a very effective drug because you're giving it too late and you want to give it earlier because that's where it has the most benefit, but we don't know how to design early intervention trials. I think there's going to be a lot of discussion with the FDA, with sponsors to find that right set of patients because you don't want to do any harm. You don't want to give a patient that feels relatively well because they may develop something in the future. And obviously I'm very passionate about this. I do think if we can find that right balance, we may not be giving people all of these second and third line therapies that we're all concerned about. We don't like giving somebody a telomerase inhibitor if we don't know what it does. But I agree with you. I don't think we know how to do it. And I don't want to kill good drugs by giving them in fifth line MDS, failure of everything as well.
Thinking about that, I wish we had more that were head to head. I know it's so easy to say, and it's just all about timing, but so many of these are placebo-controlled. Even the new luspatercept, that one is still placebo-controlled. So how will we ever know how to sequence them? I still think of imetelstat as like a back pocket drug, but that's probably wrong. But nevertheless, it's been reassuring that it has activity as a back pocket drug, but we're probably doing it a disservice by thinking about it that way. But until we have some actual head-to-head data, it's hard to change that mindset.